Before we dive into the story, tell us where you're watching from in the comments below. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more heart-touching tales. Wishing you a beautiful day now. Sit back and enjoy the story. The unlikely encounter. Emma Rosewood smoothed her thrift store dress for the 100th time as she entered the Grandmore Hotel's crystal ballroom. The champagne-colored fabric had looked elegant under her apartment's dim lighting. But here, among the sea of designer gowns and tailored suits, she felt like a dandelion among roses. Her best friend Chloe had begged her to be her +1 too. This wedding then promptly abandoned her the moment they arrived to chase after the wedding photographer. Emma clutched her small clutch purse tighter, feeling more out of place with each step through the spectacular ballroom. The space sparkled with 1,000 fairy lights, casting dancing shadows across marble floors that probably cost more than Emma's annual rent. Round tables draped in ivory silk filled the room, each centerpiece a masterpiece of white orchids and cascading pearls. Table 11, she whispered to herself, checking the elegant card in her hand. Of course, it would be in the back corner, practically hidden behind a towering floral arrangement. The table for overflow guests, the ones nobody really knew what to do with. As Emma settled into her chair, she noticed the seat beside her remained empty while the rest of the table filled with chattering strangers.
Oh.
She picked at her salad, trying to look busy, while conversations flowed around her about exotic vacations and country club memberships. The bride and groom looked radiant at the head table, completely absorbed in their fairy tale moment. "Is this seat taken?" A deep voice interrupted her thoughts. Emma looked up and felt her breath catch. Standing beside her was possibly the most handsome man she had ever seen in real life. Tall and broad-shouldered, he wore a perfectly fitted black tuxedo that emphasized his athletic build. Gosh. His dark hair was styled just messy enough to look effortless, and his eyes were an unusual shade of green that seemed to hold secrets. "No, please," Emma managed, gesturing to the empty chair. "It's all yours." He slid into the seat with fluid grace, and Emma caught a hint of expensive cologne mixed with something uniquely masculine. "Sebastian Blackwood," he said, extending his hand. "And you are?" "Emma Rosewood," she replied, shaking his hand and trying to ignore the electric shock that ran up her arm at the contact. "I'm here with my friend Chloe, though she seems to have disappeared." Sebastian's smile was warm and genuine, nothing like the practiced smiles she had seen from other wealthy-looking guests. The classic wedding abandonment. "I'm actually the best man, but I needed to escape my duties for a moment. The bride's grandmother keeps trying to set me up with her granddaughter." Emma laughed despite herself. "Sounds terrifying. You have no idea. She cornered me during cocktails and started showing me baby photos." Sebastian's eyes crinkled with humor. "So, Emma Rosewood, what brings you to this circus, besides a disappearing friend? Chloe works with the bride?" "I'm just the +1. Who doesn't know anyone?" Emma found herself relaxing despite her nervousness. There was something about Sebastian that made her feel at ease, as if she had known him longer than 5 minutes. "Well, you know me now," Sebastian said, raising his champagne glass. "To new friendships and surviving wedding receptions." Clinked her glass against his, surprised by how natural it felt. "To surviving," she agreed. As the evening progressed, Emma found herself completely absorbed in conversation with Sebastian. He was intelligent and funny, asking genuine questions about her life and listening intently to her answers.
Yes.
When she mentioned her job as a florist, his eyes lit up with interest. "You create beauty for a living," he said. "Must be incredibly fulfilling?" as Emma said, surprised by his understanding. "Most people think it's just arranging flowers, but there's so much more to it. Color theory, symbolism, understanding what emotions people want to convey." Sebastian leaned forward, slightly. "Tell me more." The dance that changed everything for the next hour, Emma found herself talking more than she had in months. Sebastian asked about her favorite flowers, her most challenging arrangements, her dreams of opening her own shop someday, shared stories too, though she noticed he was vague about his own work, mentioning something about business consulting and helping companies grow. When the band began playing slow songs, couples drifted onto the dance floor. Emma watched them with a mixture of longing and contentment. She had never been much of a dancer, but sitting here with Sebastian made her feel like she belonged somewhere. For the first time in years, "Would you like to dance?" Sebastian asked, as if reading her thoughts. Emma hesitated. "I should warn you, I'm not very good at this." "Lucky for you I am," Sebastian said with a grin, standing and offering his hand. "Trust me." Against her better judgment, Emma placed her hand in his and let him lead her onto the dance floor. The moment his arm encircled her waist, she felt like she was floating. He moved with confident grace, guiding her through the steps so naturally that she forgot her nervousness. "You're full of surprises, Emma Rosewood," Sebastian murmured, his breath warm against her ear. "So are you, Sebastian Blackwood," she replied, looking up into those mysterious green eyes. As the song ended, Emma noticed other guests watching them with curious expressions. A few women whispered behind their hands, shooting glances in Sebastian's direction. Emma felt a flutter of unease. There was something about the way people looked at him, a mixture of recognition and reverence that suggested he was more than just another wedding guest. "Sebastian," she said as they returned to their table, "what do you really do for work?" He paused, his hand still holding hers. "It's complicated. Try me." Sebastian looked around the ballroom, then back at her. "I run a few companies, technology. Mostly, nothing too exciting." But Emma noticed the way he said it, the careful neutrality in his voice. She also noticed the expensive watch on his wrist, the way the waitstaff treated him with extra deference, the quality of his clothes that spoke of custom tailoring. "Are you someone famous?" she asked quietly. Sebastian's expression grew serious. "Would it matter if I were?" The question hung between them like a challenge. Emma studied his face, seeing vulnerability beneath the confident exterior. "I don't know," she said honestly. "I guess it would depend on what kind of famous." "The kind that makes people treat you differently," Sebastian said. "The kind that makes genuine connections nearly impossible." Despite the weight of his words, Emma found herself drawn to the honesty in his voice. Here was someone who understood what it felt like to be seen as something other than who you really were, even if their circumstances were vastly different. The evening continued with an easy flow of conversation and laughter. Sebastian had a way of making Emma feel like the most interesting person in the room, and she found herself sharing stories she rarely told anyone. When she mentioned her struggle to make ends meet while pursuing her passion for floral design, he listened without judgment or pity. "Have you ever thought about expanding beyond traditional arrangements?" he asked thoughtfully. "There's a huge market for unique floral installations, especially for corporate events and luxury venues." Emma's eyes lit up. "I've designed some pieces for local galleries, but I never thought about the corporate world. Do you really think there's a market for that?" "I know there is," Sebastian said with certainty. "The right connections could open doors you never imagined." As the band played their final song, Emma felt a bittersweet pang. This magical evening was coming to an end, and she wasn't sure when she would see Sebastian again or if she even would. The mystery deepens. Emma found herself reluctant to leave as the evening wound down. The magical night had been unlike anything she had ever experienced. Sebastian had made her feel seen, appreciated, interesting. For once she hadn't felt invisible. "I should probably find Chloe," Emma said reluctantly as the last dance ended. "Of course," Sebastian said, but he made no move to leave. "Emma, I'd like to see you again." Outside of all this, he gestured around the elegant ballroom. Emma's heart skipped. "I'd like that too." Sebastian pulled out his phone. "May I have your number?" As Emma gave him her contact information, she noticed his phone was the latest model, sleek and expensive. Everything about Sebastian spoke of wealth and sophistication, while everything about her screamed ordinary. But the way he looked at her made her feel anything but ordinary. "I'll call you tomorrow," Sebastian promised, his fingers brushing hers as he handed back her phone. "Tomorrow?" Emma agreed, her pulse racing. As she walked away to find Chloe, Emma felt Sebastian's eyes on her. She turned back once and saw him standing by their table, watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. She realized that whatever Sebastian Blackwood's secrets were, she was already in too deep to care. The next morning, Emma woke with a smile on her face for the first time in months. She replayed every moment of the evening, from Sebastian's easy laughter to the way he had held her while they danced. By noon, she was checking her phone obsessively, wondering when he would call. The call came at 2 o'clock, just as she was arranging a bouquet of sunflowers for a regular customer. "Emma, it's Sebastian." Her heart fluttered at the sound of his voice. "Hi. I was wondering if you'd like to have dinner tonight. I know a quiet place where we can actually hear each other talk." "I'd love to," Emma said, trying to keep the excitement out of her voice. "Perfect. I'll pick you up at 7. And Emma, wear something comfortable. This isn't about impressing anyone." That evening, Sebastian arrived at Emma's modest apartment building in a sleek black car that looked like it cost more than her annual salary. But when he got out to greet her, he was dressed in dark jeans and a simple button-down shirt, looking more approachable than he had in his tuxedo. "You look beautiful," he said, and Emma felt her cheeks warm. She had chosen a simple blue dress that brought out her eyes. Nothing fancy, but something that made her feel confident. The restaurant Sebastian chose was indeed quiet, tucked away in a cozy corner of the city Emma had never explored. It was elegant but not ostentatious, with dim lighting and intimate tables. The staff greeted Sebastian by name, and Emma noticed they were seated at what was clearly the best table in the one. "House, you come here often?" Emma asked as they settled in. "I own it," Sebastian said simply, then caught her surprised expression. "I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that. I wanted somewhere we could talk without being disturbed." Emma stared at him. "Among other things," Sebastian said, looking uncomfortable. "Emma, there's something I need to tell you. Yesterday, when you asked what I do for work, I wasn't entirely honest." Emma's stomach tightened. "What do you mean?" Sebastian ran a hand through his hair. "I don't just run a few companies. I run Blackwood Enterprises. Maybe you've heard of it?" Emma's breath caught. Even someone like her, who paid little attention to business news, knew that name. Blackwood Enterprises was one of the largest technology conglomerates in the country, with interests in everything from software development to renewable energy. "You're that Sebastian Blackwood," she said quietly. "I'm afraid so." Sebastian's green eyes searched her face. "I wanted to tell you last night, but I was enjoying being just Sebastian for once. Not the CEO, not the billionaire, just a man having dinner with a beautiful woman." Emma felt the world tilt slightly. A billionaire. She was having dinner with an actual billionaire who could probably buy her entire neighborhood without thinking twice about it. "Can see you're processing this," Sebastian said gently. "I understand if it changes things between us. Does it change things for you?" Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Sebastian reached across the table and took her hand. "Not at all. If anything, it makes me want to know you better. You saw me as just Sebastian last night, and that's something I haven't experienced in a very long time." Two worlds colliding over the following weeks, Emma found herself living in a dream she never wanted to wake up from. Sebastian called every day, sometimes just to hear her voice during his lunch break. He sent flowers to her shop, not expensive. Arrangements that would draw attention, but thoughtful bouquets that showed he had been listening to her preferences. Their second date was a picnic in the park, where Sebastian arrived with a simple basket and a blanket, insisting on normalcy. Despite the security detail that discreetly followed them, their third date was at a small jazz club where Sebastian knew the owner, and Emma watched in fascination as he effortlessly moved between two worlds, equally comfortable discussing business mergers and the subtle differences between trumpet styles. But it was their fourth date that changed everything. "I want to show you something," Sebastian said as they walked through the financial district after dinner. He stopped in front of a towering glass building that stretched toward the sky, its facade reflecting the city lights. "Blackwood Tower," Emma read from the elegant sign at the base. "My office is on the 40th floor," Sebastian said. "Would, you like to see it?" Emma nodded, though she felt a familiar flutter of intimidation. The lobby was all marble and crystal, with security guards who nodded respectfully as Sebastian passed. The elevator ride seemed to last forever, and when the doors opened, Emma stepped into a world that might as well have been on another planet. The executive floor was a study in understated luxury. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of the city, and the decor spoke of money so old it didn't need to announce itself. Sebastian's office was enormous. The conference table that could seat 20, and a desk that looked like it had been carved from a single piece of mahogany. This is where you work every day? Emma asked, walking to the windows. Most days, Sebastian said, joining her, though I travel quite a bit. Board meetings, acquisitions, that sort of thing. Emma stared out at the city sprawling below them. From this height, the world looked manageable, controllable. She could see her neighborhood in the distance, a collection of modest buildings that seemed impossibly small from here. Sebastian, she said quietly, what are we doing? He turned to look at her, his expression serious. What do you mean? This. Emma gestured around the office, then at herself. I'm a florist who lives in a studio apartment and shops at thrift stores. You're a billionaire who owns buildings and restaurants and probably entire city blocks. What are we doing? Sebastian was quiet for a long moment. We're getting to know each other, he said finally. We're seeing if what we felt that night at the wedding was real. And what if it is real? Emma asked. What then? Do I become some kind of charity case? The poor girl you rescued from obscurity, is that what you think this is? And Sebastian's voice was sharp with hurt. Emma turned away from the window. I don't know what this is. I don't know how to navigate this world, Sebastian. I don't know the rules. Then let me teach you, Sebastian said, moving closer. Let me show you that money doesn't have to change who we are to each other. Emma wanted to believe him, but standing in his office, surrounded by the tangible evidence of his power and delising wealth, she felt the distance between them more acutely than ever. My assistant mentioned something interesting today, Sebastian said, his tone shifting slightly. There's a position opening up for a creative director at one of our subsidiary companies. They're looking for someone to oversee floral installations, an event designed for high-end corporate clients. Emma's heart sank. Sebastian, no. Just hear me out, he said quickly. It's a legitimate position. They need someone with your skills and creativity. The salary would be substantial, and it would be charity, Emma interrupted. It would be you taking care of the poor girl because you feel sorry for her. That's not what this is, Sebastian said. But Emma could see the uncertainty in his eyes, isn't it? Emma asked. Tell me honestly, Sebastian. Would this position exist if you weren't trying to figure out how to make me fit into your world? Sebastian's silence was answer enough. Emma felt something break inside her chest. I should go. Emma, please, Sebastian said, reaching for her hand. We can figure this out. We can make this work. But Emma was already walking toward the elevator, her heart breaking with each step. She had known this moment would come, had felt it lurking beneath every perfect date and sweet gesture. The fairy tale was over, and it was time to return to reality. As the elevator doors closed between them, Emma saw Sebastian standing in the middle of his magnificent office, looking more alone than she had ever seen him. She pressed herself against the back wall of the elevator and let the tears come, mourning not just what they had lost, but what they had never really had a chance to become. Finding their way back 3 weeks past in a blur of deliberately busy days and sleepless nights, Emma threw herself into her work, taking on extra projects and staying late at the flower shop to avoid going home to her empty apartment. Sebastian called twice, but she let the calls go to voicemail, unable to bear the sound of his voice. Then, on a rainy Thursday morning, Chloe burst into the shop with a determined expression. Okay, enough, Chloe announced, setting a coffee cup on Emma's workstation. You've been miserable for weeks, and I'm done pretending not to notice. Emma looked up from the funeral arrangement she was creating. I'm fine. You're not fine. You're in love with him, and you're being an idiot about it. Chloe, no, listen to me, Chloe interrupted. I've known you for 10 years, Emma. I've never seen you light up the way you did when you talked about Sebastian. And now you're punishing yourself because he has money? Emma set down her scissors. It's not that simple, isn't it? Chloe challenged. You're scared. You're scared that if you let yourself have something good, something extraordinary, it might not last. So you ended it first. The truth in Chloe's words hit Emma like a physical blow. She had been scared, terrified that Sebastian's interest in her was temporary, that once the novelty wore off, he would realize she didn't belong in his world. What if you're wrong, Emma asked quietly. What if I'm not enough for him? And what if you are? Chloe countered. What if you're exactly what he needs? That afternoon, Emma found herself standing outside Blackwood Tower. her heart pounding as she stared up at the imposing building. She had walked here without conscious decision, her feet carrying her through the city streets while her mind wrestled with Chloe's words. The security guard recognized her from her previous visit and waved her toward the elevator.
Oh.
Emma's hands shook as she pressed the button for the 40th floor. Sebastian's assistant looked surprised to see her. "Ms. Rosewood, Mr. Blackwood is in a meeting, but it's okay, Janet," came Sebastian's voice from the doorway of his office. "Cancel my 3 o'clock. Emma turned to see Sebastian standing in his doorway, looking as handsome as ever but with shadows under his eyes that hadn't been there before. He was dressed in an expensive suit, but his tie was loosened, and his hair looked like he had been running his hands through it. "Emma," he said softly, "I wasn't sure I'd see you again. Can we talk?" Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Sebastian nodded and gestured her into his office. He closed the door behind them and leaned against it, as if he needed the support. "I've been thinking about what you said," Emma began, then stopped. "Actually, that's not true. I've been trying not to think about it, but I can't stop." Sebastian remained silent, waiting. "I was scared," Emma continued. "I am scared. Your world is so different from mine, and I was afraid that I'd never be enough, that you'd realize I don't belong here." "And now?" Sebastian asked gently. Emma took a deep breath. "Now I think maybe I was being a coward. I was so afraid of not being enough that I never gave us a chance to find out what we am." "Could be." Sebastian pushed off from the door and walked to her, stopping just close enough that she could smell his cologne. "Emma, that job offer, it was real. The position exists, and they do need someone with your skills. But you were right about one thing. I suggested you because I wanted you to have options. I wanted you to feel like you could choose to be in my world without giving up your independence." "And if I said no to the job?" Emma asked. "Then you'd say no to the job," Sebastian said simply. "Your career, your choices, your life there, yours to make. I don't want to rescue you, Emma. I want to build something with you." Emma felt tears prick her eyes. "I don't know how to be a billionaire's girlfriend." Sebastian smiled, the first genuine smile she had seen from him since she'd arrived. "I don't know how to be a florist's boyfriend either. Maybe we can figure it out together." "What if people think I'm only with you for your money?" Emma asked. "What if they do?" Sebastian countered. "What if some people think I'm only with you because you're beautiful?" "People will always have opinions. The only opinions that matter are ours." Emma reached up and touched his face, feeling the slight stubble on his jaw. "I missed you," she admitted. "I missed you too," Sebastian said, covering her hand with his. "Emma, I need you to know something. That night at the wedding, when I first saw you, I had no idea who you were or what you did or where you came from. I just knew that you were the most genuine person I'd met in years. That hasn't changed." "I love you," Emma said, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. Sebastian's face lit up with joy. "I love you too. I've been wanting to tell you for weeks." Kissed her then, soft and gentle at first, then with growing passion. When they finally broke apart, Emma felt like she was floating again, just like she had on the dance floor that first night. "So what happens now?" Emma asked. Sebastian smiled. "Now we take it one day at a time. We figure out how to blend our worlds instead of choosing between them. We build something together." Emma nodded, feeling a sense of peace settle over her. "I'd like that." "Good," Sebastian said, pulling her closer. "Because I have a feeling this is just the beginning of our story." As they stood together in Sebastian's office, the city spreading out below them, Emma realized that she had been wrong about one thing. She did belong in Sebastian's world, just as he belonged in hers. They didn't need to choose between their two worlds. They could create a new one together. 6 months later, Emma stood in the ballroom of the Grandmore Hotel. Not as a forgotten guest at someone else's wedding, but as Sebastian's partner at a charity gala. She wore a dress that she had chosen herself, beautiful, but not ostentatious, and she felt confident and radiant. "Any regrets?" Sebastian asked, spinning her around the dance floor. Emma looked up at him, this man who had changed her life in ways she was still discovering. "Only one," she said. Sebastian raised an eyebrow. "Oh, I should have said yes to that job. Emma said with a grin. I'm starting Monday, Sebastian laughed, the sound rich and joyful. In that case, I have a confession to make. I may have had ulterior motives for offering you that position, such as, I wanted an excuse to see you every day, Sebastian said, his eyes twinkling, though I suppose I have that now anyway. Emma stood on her tiptoes and kissed him right there in the middle of the dance floor, surrounded by the same kind of elegant crowd that had once intimidated her. But now she knew the secret beneath, all the wealth and glamour. They were just people, and she was just Emma, and that was enough. I love you, Sebastian Blackwood, she whispered against his lips. I love you too, Emma Rosewood, he replied. Always. As they danced together under the glittering lights, Emma knew that their story was far from over. It was just beginning, and she couldn't wait to see where it would take them. The end.